Hello, Austin County. Today I am here with Jason Smalley. He is the police chief in Bellville, and we're so happy to have you here. Welcome, Chief Smalley.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I guess we'll start out with the easy stuff. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Have you always lived in Bellville?
No, I haven't. Actually, my family's from Pearland, Texas, and I was there through probably the second or third grade. Then we moved to, my dad was a Houston policeman, so when he retired early from Houston Police Department, we moved to Magnolia, where he ran a ranch there. And we've also been in livestock my entire life. From there, we moved to Nelsonville, Texas in 1984. So I started school in the fourth grade with Bellville ISD at Weston Elementary in the fourth grade. And then graduated from Bellville in 1992. So yeah, about 40 years I've been here now.
All right. So the next question I was going to ask you is, how did you find your way into law enforcement? But I guess that's family business. Yeah,
my dad was a Houston policeman in the 70s, and I always admired him and his friends, the ones that he worked with, his co-workers, officers. It's just been something I've wanted to do my entire life. And from the time I was probably 6 or 7 years old, I'd wear his uniforms, wear his hat, wear his little gun belt without the gun.
Right.
And I was a policeman, and then cops and robbers, growing up, that was kind of a fun thing with all of us, our kids, our friends. So, it's just something I've always wanted to do.
And I bet he kept you on the straight and narrow, didn't he?
He did. He was a disciplinarian. I was a little bit afraid of him, but I respected him too at the same time.
I was going to say, so you're talking about cops and robbers. The first time I ever met you, actually met you, was at the Bellville 175. And I saw you dispatching the bad guys when they tried to break their friends out of jail.
That was a really good time. I've never been a part of that. And it was just... we were asked to, we weren't even asked. I reached out to a gentleman that actually played the sheriff in that. And he used to do this for a living back in the day in Houston area. And so I knew he had all the old costumes and uniforms. I said, would you like to have a gunfight to celebrate the 175th? He said, absolutely, let's get it together. So that was put together in about 3 or 4 weeks, and then we enacted the scene that day. And it looked like it drew a pretty good crowd, and we had a good time. I wish we could do it more often. I had a really good time doing that, especially utilizing the old jail. It's just fantastic. It was a great time.
I was going to say, and people loved it. And Austin County, if you're interested in seeing that, if you go to our YouTube page, you can see the shootout.
The actual shootout. Now, I will say this. We didn't go by script. We had a really good script. It was supposed to be drug out a little longer than it was. And then, of course, some of us got excited and moved faster than it should have. But that was the only thing I wish we would have drug it out just a little bit longer.
Yeah, well, it was great. And the crowd loved it. I was taking pictures, and I mean, the cheers and the joy around there was amazing.
It was a great time, and what a great backdrop for that. You can't, there's not a place like that has old jailhouses that are still around as museums now.
Yeah.
And they count on the public to show up, and help support that museum too. So it's if you haven't been, it is a great museum to visit. And
it is. And I haven't been yet, but that's actually on my list. Everybody in Austin County knows I hadn't been here that long. And so I have a kind of a bucket list of Austin County, and that's one of them that I want to go to.
Lots of history there with Austin County, going back to Sheriff Truman Maddox when he was here, to Cotton Novisky was his chief deputy that lived in that jail at that particular time. I just donated a time clock to Bruce Novisky, who is actually, I think, the chairman of that board now for the jail. And the time clock used to be worn with watchmen in Bellville, and they had 4 spots they had to go around town during the night, and they turned this key with this time clock that was attached to a specific thing, a pole or whatever it may be, and it showed that they were making the rounds. So it was found in City Hall in a drawer right where City Hall chambers are, and no one really knew what it was except one of our councilmen, Arlie Kendrick, knew what it was and said, man, we ought to get that and put it in the police department. So it's been in my department for a year and a half now since we opened the new building. And I thought, this isn't doing any justice here. This needs to be where people could see it. So I donated it to the jail museum the other day. So that's one of many cool artifacts they have there.
Well, that's the thing is like I said, that's on my bucket list. All right. So you talked about the department. You guys had not too long ago got a new department.
We opened our new department in, I guess it was October 1st or 2nd of 2023. So we've been there almost a year and a half. Brand new building. That was our opening ceremony that day. A lot of people turned out. We probably had 100 maybe 150 people there that day, gave them a tour of the building. And we have a big training room in there for classrooms and such. And we let the community use the training room when they need it.
Oh, that's good.
Even after hours, if they want to go. Many chamber just used it not long ago, Bellville Chamber of Commerce. But anybody who wants to use that training room, it's there. It's got 2 big TV screens. It'll hold up to 50 people. At one point, we hosted the high school law enforcement class. They were busing them every day. They quit doing that. They went back to the high school just because it was taking too much time, I think, at that particular time. But anyway, we also have Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission in that office, as well as DPS. And all of our officers are housed there. So anybody who ever wants to come by and take a tour, we're proud of it. We'll show it to them.
Take a tour, but don't visit the jail part, huh?
Well, there's no jail in there, so you don't have to worry about that. That's the Austin County Jail. We're just right up the street from there. But I have to always tell the sheriff it's your one-stop shop for all your crime enforcement needs right there. So,
there you go.
On Sesley Street.
All right. So we know your legacy. How long have you actually been a police officer? And then what roles have you played in there?
Well, I started my career in 1995 at the Travis County Correctional Complex in Del Valley. So I worked for Travis County as a jailer. I started in the jails. And then I got my commission, basically the police academy. I graduated police academy in 1997. And, since then I've worked for, Washington County Sheriff's Department. I worked for Harris County Constable Precinct 4. I worked for, Austin County Sheriff's Department, and I've been with Bellville now for over 20 years, 21, close to 22 years now.
Okay.
And of those 22 years, I've been the police chief now for almost 4. I knew that was 4 years.
Yeah, that's right.
Almost 4 years now. I'll be 4 years, April the 1st. April Fool's Day, as a matter of fact.
Oh, mercy. Well, now, out of all the things that you've done, not to make anybody whatever, but was there one particular area that you especially liked? Because I mean, life moves and you change.
Sure.
But
I love my job now as a chief of police. It's a great honor to be, serving in the community that I grew up in. And but what gets me going is investigations. I was able to work investigations for many, many years as a lieutenant. And I love going in, not that I like to have victims, but at the same time, I like to serve for victims. And when you go in and you start working a crime and you start from scratch and you work that crime throughout, it could take years, it could take months, it could take just a couple of weeks, whatever it may be. But a whodunit case where who's responsible for this? And then using all your investigative knowledge and tools to find that person and actually go and get a warrant for that person and put whoever's committed that crime in jail is what did it for me. And I missed that part of it. And I can't really do that too much now in the position I'm in. But, that's what my true passion is, to help people out that have been victimized. I
would say, but you're also a resource though, for those that still do it.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I've got 2 great investigators that work for me now. My whole staff is fantastic. I'm blessed with the staff I have, but they're doing a fantastic job. And I'm also kind of a mentorship to that as well too. So when they need help, I'm there. And if they'll let me kind of sneak in every now and then, I do. I just try to keep my distance.
You're like, here, let me see what you're doing. Yeah.
But again, you don't want anybody to be victimized, but the rewarding part is that you're going in there and you're solving a crime for someone, and there's some closure to whatever it may be.
I was to say, it's kind of like being a nurse or a doctor or something like that. You don't want the people to be sick, but you feel good when when you see them walk out the door.
That's correct. That's correct. And I guess the ones that bother me, the ones that you don't get solved, and there's a few out there. For the most part, we do solve our crimes, but some are unsolvable, and you do everything you can to exhaust your means, and that it's always there in the back of your head. And they're called cold cases, as you know. And there's a couple out there that they're not major cold cases, but it's still stuff you want to get behind you and have some resolution to. So, you always have a driving force to get those done, even though they may go dormant for a while.
Yeah. Okay. So I know you've worked several different places. All right. So tell us, how is policing in a small town like Bellville versus policing the county or in a big city?
Well, Harris County's millions and millions of people. I worked there for a while too. You have a much more personal relationship with the people in a smaller community. And that's good. That's really good, because those people also have your back in bad times, or they're there to help you when you have a crime. You don't get to build those personal relationships in a larger city, because it's usually moving. We have a situation where we deal with someone, you move down the road and you're at the next scene, whatever. Here, you see these people every day for the most part. And me growing up here, I know so many people. They have my phone numbers, and we stay in constant communication. So I would say that personal aspect of small town policing is much better, in my opinion, than a larger city where you don't know anybody. You may never see that person again. Right. Or if you work a crime or you work a case or whatever it may be, and you see that person on their worst day, and then you fix whatever that problem may be, and then you see them 2 or 3 weeks later, a month down the road, or a year down the road, and their life has been changed or whatever it may be because of what you did, the impact you had. That's the rewarding part of it. I don't think you get that so much in a bigger city for the most part.
Right. And I know that you guys, Greg, if you can put that back for me, you guys host like the community night out.
Yeah. So each year we started doing this the opening night of our police department. And this is the most recent year, which happened this past October. But every year the sheriff's department, the police department are bouncing back and forth to host this event, which is basically a national night out community event. We serve free hot dogs, and, sodas. There's a snow cone truck there. Kids come out. There's a dunking booth. And so this past year was held at the sheriff's department. We'll bounce it back to the police department next year. So it's a good way to meet new community members, get in touch with the kids, shake some hands, give some, prizes out and things like that. And it's a really good time. It really is a good event.
I was going to say, and that's one of the things that sometimes you have people who are a little nervous when they see a police car or an officer. And so I assume this is one of those. Hey.
Oh, yeah. One of the worst things people can do, and they don't do it on purpose, but you'll see it, is like you're walking to a restaurant or wherever you may be.
And I bet they all sit up straight like.
No, the parents would go, little Johnny, you better not mess up. I'm going to have him arrest you.
Yeah.
And so we try to deter parents from saying things like that, because when their kids are in trouble or they need help, they'll come to you. They're not going to run away from you. You want them to run to you, not run away from you. So parents just do it, as a joke, but in the same sense, you don't want your child to think that I can't trust that officer because he's going to put me in jail no matter what. And we don't want that. But this is a good way to build those kind of relationships. We still have the Guns and Hoses tournament that happens in April. I also had a 5K and 10K run that we produced at that particular time. The runs kind of died down because people aren't running as much as they were after, post-COVID, so everybody was outdoors. Now you don't see it as much. That's not the same thing this year.
No, but this is,
I'll talk about that too. But anyway, we had up to 150 runners, and that also allowed the kids to come out and meet law enforcement, and we'd run a route in Bellville. And what you had on there too was another community event with the Special Olympics torch run. I've had the honor for the past, I think I just did my third year, maybe in my second year, and I do it every year. I like to run. So we run a 1.5 miles through town. We go by O'Brien Intermediate, which you see pictures of it there. And that all goes to, they run from Houston to San Antonio to honor the Special Olympics event. That takes place in May. So first part of May or middle of May. And we do that every year. And it's actually a lighted torch that you run with, and you'll have a group of police officers representing Harris County, counties out here, Colorado County. Just a number of different law enforcement officers get together to run that, and they run to San Antonio. So for the big event.
I was going to say, now here's your cheer or go to jail. I love it.
So that was at the high school football one night, and that was something going around on the internet at that time where local school resource officers were doing the cheer or go to jail. So that's the student section we're in front of, and you raise the sign and they scream and yell, and then it gets everybody riled up. So it made a big impression. I love doing stuff like that.
I was just going to say, and see there again, you get the personal touch. And that helps because, my question is, like, your officers, they're for the most part, they're from here, I assume. Yeah. And I guess the question is what kind of training do they go through? Like if they see, little Susie's cat in the tree and she's crying, or you see, old Miss Mary walking down 36, going to church, these are challenges that.
Well, I think I tell my officers, and told them time and time again, you don't have to tell them too many times, but they understand that the smallest problem to you that you might have to deal with could be the biggest thing they've ever faced. So you have to put yourself in their shoes to understand where they're coming from. So I want them to take that in perspective when they go and take a call, that if you do have a cat in the tree, you may think that's a small thing, but that may be some lady's only family member. It could be what she considers her child. So you have to consider that when you're taking those types of calls, that it may seem insignificant to you is the biggest thing they're facing that day. And if you can put yourself in someone else's shoes when you're taking those calls, you'll have a better perspective on the whole feel of things, and you're going to do a better job, and they see that you care. And so I think that's the biggest thing that you have to keep in mind. And when you're dealing with the public, is never underestimate what they may be going through. It could be the worst day in their life. And you have to understand that to be effective in policing, in my opinion.
Yeah, the cat in the tree would devastate me because I'm a crazy cat lady. I love mine.
I had a lady reach out to me from the church not long ago, and same thing. She had a cat that got way up in a tree and could not come down. And our local fire department came out. Well, actually, I think she had a neighbor too that came out and helped her get it out of the tree. And I said, that's the first cat call in a tree that I've heard of in years, probably decades now. But it does happen sometimes.
I was gonna say, I think that's because most people keep their cats inside these days.
Yeah.
That was one of the things I learned when I got here. It was don't let the cats out because of the coyote. So
well, that too. We've lost cats to coyotes out in the country, and a couple of Yorkies too. We've heard about before. The coyotes would come up in the front yard and grab them, and they're gone.
Yeah,
and owls too, by the way. Well, a funny story. One night I was on patrol years ago, while working for the Austin County Sheriff's Department. It was a nighttime patrol, 2:00 in the morning, going down a dirt road. I don't remember which road it was. And there's a ruckus in the middle of the road. And I put my high beams on and my spotlight on, and it was an owl that had grabbed a skunk. And I was trying to fly off with the skunk, and he managed to do it. He finally got his talons in, I guess, deep enough, and he was gone. But flew off with the skunk. Yeah, so you never.
That's a stinky meal right there.
But owls will grab small cats and dogs too.
Oh, well,
you got to be careful.
I'll keep them inside. But you were talking about the, relationship with the community, and I came across this on the Facebook page, and this is just precious.
Yeah. We get that all the time, notes from little kids. And I got to say this, we started the school resource officer program with Bellville ISD probably, I think we're on our 6th year now, maybe 5th year, 5 or 6 years now. And I started that program in cooperation with Bellville ISD. They wanted officers in the schools because of all the school shootings that were taking place back in those days, unfortunately. And so we now have contract officers on their day off that represent Bellville Police Department, Austin County Sheriff's Office. Constable Clark's involved in it with precinct. I think he's 2, right? Or 4, precinct 4. We've got DPS troopers that also work it, and it's all local officers. So on our days off, we work those schools, and we're covering every single campus. So you've got 5, 6 officers working per day. But when you're in those, I started myself working in that campus, and I guess it was pre-COVID. It had to be. But anyway, my first campus I worked was a high school, and first year, or I wouldn't even say that long, maybe the first 6 months, you'd be walking down the hallways and the kids would do everything they could not to look at you. Right. They didn't want to make eye contact because that was something brand new to them. And we didn't have a relationship with kids. Now you walk down those hallways on any given day with an SRO, they're fist bumping you. Right. And you see it in the stores too now with the little ones. You'll be off duty, and I've had several officers tell me this. They'll be in a grocery store in plain clothes, and a little boy or girl will walk up and hug them and go, "Hey, officer," whatever your name might be. Right. And that tells me that we're building those relationships with those children, and we are the true beneficiaries. The school thinks they are, but we are, because we're building those relationships with the younger generation so that when they're in an older generation, we're not dealing with them. We're mentors as well, and that gives us the opportunity to do that. We would not have that opportunity if it wasn't for Bellville ISD. So we're very thankful for them letting us come in the school district and do that. And that also leads to what you just had on the board with the messages and the cookies and all that. You'll have National Law Enforcement Day or whatever it may be. And that's when you start getting those notes and cookies and the appreciation that comes with it. And just like this. Yeah.
I would say this one with the, what's the puppy's name?
That's Maggie. She's Maggie. Help me with this. Belgian Malinois.
Belgian Malinois.
I can't ever say that name right. But we've had her now for a couple years, and Officer Canine Freud, Officer Freud is our canine officer, but anyway, he's had her now for, I guess, a year and a half. She's a narcotics dog and a drug sniffing dog, and she's a rescue dog of all things. So she was rescued and trained to do what she does, and she's just fabulous at what she does, and we're very fortunate to have her.
I was going to say, and that's one of the things too. Sometimes you have, you talk about building relationships. They're scared of you, but they're interested in the dog.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The puppies always draw attention. And you got to be careful with canines because any dog, you don't know what they could do at any given moment. She's very docile. She loves people. She's very hyper. But you can see he's in that particular picture right there. He's in the O'Brien primary. So we take the dogs to the schools every now and then. I believe that's Ava Martinez too. She has a business now that makes dog treats, and she's donated a bunch of dog treats to Maggie not long ago. So we appreciate that.
And this particular picture, I understand that she was in trouble.
She was in trouble with the sergeant. She did something. I forgot what it was, but did something in the car. I cannot remember what it was, but she has to go into the sergeant's office, and he had her full attention, as you can tell.
Yes, yes.
We're lucky to have her, and she's been an asset to us for sure.
Well, this was another one of the pictures of people bringing y'all treats.
Oh yeah, all the time. Now that particular picture that you have up there now that's a Blue Santa program that we do every Christmas, and I cannot express how much we appreciate our local community. They come together and donate all these toys and bikes. And this is from a local company that decided they wanted to donate all the bikes. They bounce it back between Sealy. Sealy has a Blue Santa program too. So it goes between Sealy and Bellville each year. They donate this many bicycles and we make sure they're delivered. But that's one of the best programs we have going. And the community, the banks collect for us, restaurants collect for us. And we end up, I think we service 25 to 30 families. Don't hold me to that, but we're around 40 something kids. And every year it gets bigger. So we're very proud of that program, and kids that normally wouldn't have toys or things to open, it gives them something to open. And then we deliver them. You know, Santa goes out and delivers them house to house a few nights before Christmas. So
I was saying, you said that this was a group that helped collect.
That's the junior high. They helped collect toys they just did it too. I don't have an updated picture, but they brought a bunch of toys. A bigger group, same group from the junior high, brought a larger number of toys to us. And every year it gets bigger and bigger, and they collect as well. Also, Bellville High School Athletics does a really good job collecting for us. We'll have 2 or 3 truckloads from them. So we're just inundated with toys, but we make sure they all get out, and it goes right back out to the community.
I was to say, that's the wonderful thing, talking about the community, that they do, you do, and all that stuff. And I know that with policing, you also need to have the community assist because y'all are few, but the community is large.
Oh, sure. You got to rely on your community to help you. If you're partnering with your community, you'll solve a lot of things that need to be solved or find people that need to be found. You know, a lot of people have an issue with Facebook and a lot of downside to Facebook. We've seemed to see that it helps us. If something happens or we're looking for someone or needed a tip on a crime, I can't tell you how many times we'll get Facebook Messenger tips through Facebook to help solve a crime. And I got to tell you, this is kind of a funny story. We had a robbery in Bellville 4 or 5, 6 years ago. I can't remember now. I'm getting old, but anyway, it was a Newman's Bakery, and
that's
it was
to rob.
3 people robbed that store. And we caught the driver, was in a high-speed pursuit, ended up at 290 and I-10, and driver crashed, got out of the car, put his hands up, and the 2 that were in the car before we got there took off running. So we were still on the lookout for them. Well, one was caught a couple days later, and then we were still looking for one person specific. So we put all that on Facebook, and had a lot of people take note to it and shared it. Well, then I get a messenger from one day, and it was from a lady I did not know. And she said, "Are you still looking for this subject?" And I said, "We are." She goes, "Well, I know where he's at." I said, "Okay, well, how do you know him?" She goes, "Well, that's my baby's daddy, and he owes me child support money, and he hadn't paid, so he's at this location. If you find any money on him, please make sure I get it." So she gave him up. So
wow.
You just never know on those kind of situations what's going to happen. But that's just one of many where Facebook has helped us. And it's not necessarily always people in our community. That made it all the way to Houston, Texas, that Facebook post. So someone saw it, and we get a lot of crime solved by that. And so I try not to put everything on Facebook, but I always put things that I know the community can assist us with or high profile type situations where they need to know about. And especially wanted people that we're looking for. I can't tell you how many times that's worked out for us.
I was going to say, because I know just recently, I had a gentleman that made an escape and whatever, and they had a lot of it. We covered it, and you could see people reposting and things like that.
Well, they're helping you. They're trying to help you, and they're trying to get the information out because you don't want bad people running around in your community. Yeah. And if you can help get that case solved, it benefits everybody. It benefits us. It benefits our victims. It benefits our community. So I'm not opposed to anything that we put on Facebook.
I was going to say, and does Bellville have anything like a Crime Stopper? Not Crime Stoppers. What was it called, Greg? Citizens on Patrol.
No, we used to many years ago. They had one with the county. I think it was a Bellville County combination. I really wasn't around back then, but it would be citizen would get in police cars or unmarked cars and drive around. The times then were different. Now they've changed, and you've got people now, unfortunately, that will shoot you over anything. And you're putting people, in my opinion, you're putting people at risk by putting them out in cars, running around in the neighborhood looking for things like that. And if it gets out, who's to say that somebody won't intentionally cause harm to one of our citizens on patrol?
Right.
That's why I'm kind of against it now, simply because I think it's a great idea. I think there's just a bigger danger factor now than there ever has been in society in general.
That's true.
And so that kind of worries me a little bit. And we take on that responsibility. I could not live with myself if we had someone out there that got seriously injured or killed trying to help us out.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that worries me about it.
Now, I know you you worked with the schools and stuff, but what about any of the civic groups like, I don't know, Lions Club or...
I'm the vice president of the Bellville Lions Club.
Okay.
And that keeps us pretty busy. And we're the second largest chapter in our region. I think College Station is the only one larger, but that's all run by a great group of people. Our treasurer / secretary is Newton Boriak, a longtime resident of Bellville. Everybody knows him, and he keeps that club ginning. He does a really good job. But I'll be president this June, so I always try to get myself involved in things like that as well. Because it's not just about serving in law enforcement; it's about serving in general, and that's a great organization to help get the message out, help people out. We were instrumental in the hailstorm, the windstorms. We were out helping people getting food, and of course, Lions Club is produced too by the community members that, memberships and people that donate to us. So we're kind of a facilitator of what they donate to us. We give out to the organizations that need help or people that need help. And, I got to say, when we had our hailstorm in Bellville, it was a pretty bad deal. A lot of family lost their homes and roofs and such. And, Mayor Bilski called me one day and said, "Hey, I'm with a group that helps with things like that. What can we do?" And I said, "Well, we've got 3 or 4 homes that are completely destroyed." And her group came through and bought these people brand new homes. So when you start seeing things like that, that tells you community cares and they're out there for you.
Yeah.
That means they're there for you in bad times, I should say. That's
right. Yeah. The good times are always very easy. It's the bad times
that's when you've got some good supporters. And I got to say, I wouldn't want to work in a better community, meaning Austin County in general. I just see that through Sealy. You see it, I think, in Wallace. You see it in Bellville, Industry, San Philip, all those places. Everybody just comes together to take care of one another, and they support the law enforcement. And I think the key to that is that you have to be transparent, you have to be trustworthy, and you have to be honest. As long as you keep the people informed of what's going on and that you're doing the right thing, they'll always support you. I really believe that.
Absolutely. I neglected to ask, how many officers do you have? We
have, I should know that right off the top of my head. I believe we have 14 in 2 reserves. So, okay. But we try to add a little more every year. We need to stay in front of crime and not chase crime.
Right.
And what's moving this direction. Harris County is steadily getting closer and closer, and more people are moving out here. Good people for the most part. I see it, right. The Methodist Church, I work security there, and every week I see a new family. And it's actually encouraging to see that. But with the good comes the bad sometimes too. And so you see a different crime element out here that we've never seen before. And I think we have to stay on top of that. And every year, and I got to say, we have a great council. I've never been turned down for anything that we ask for at our department, meaning technology, cars, people, whatever it may be. But they're really good at supporting us and making sure we have what we need. And they understand that. And I'll never ask for anything that I don't need. So it's stuff to keep in front of crime and fight crime from the front rather than chasing. Proactive versus reactive is much better.
Right. And I was going to show, Greg, if you put it up there, this is the police department's part of the city of Bellville's page.
Right. Yeah.
And it gives you the information if you have, need anything. Of course, 911 is always an option.
Right.
But it gives you the other numbers as well.
And, I think the websites for us, especially this particular link, isn't as active as our Facebook page. Our Facebook page is fairly active, and all the information you need there too as well.
Of course it.
And we answer Messenger on there. Now, we don't monitor Messenger 24/7. So
right.
We always ask that you call 911 or call our police department if you have something that needs to be taken care of immediately. Or the Austin County Sheriff's Department dispatches for us 24/7. So you can call 911 or you can call 865-3111 and get their number. And we always have an officer dispatch you 24/7. But Messenger is also in there as well. And I do check Messenger here and there, but I don't monitor it constantly. So that's not the best way to get a hold of us.
Right. But some of the photos that, we were showing, some of the things that you did, I was going to tell you, I loved all the pictures, the snow pictures.
Yeah.
Because I was a coward and I was not going to get out.
Well, and there's two parts to that. So I came out that morning, and we have some nighttime pictures in there too. We were out pretty early that morning, and I was driving around, and I thought, streets are pretty icy. There's a lot of snow on the ground. And you tell people to remain home if they can, if they absolutely don't have to get out and about. And that's ice-covered streets here, as you can tell. It was very slick that night. So I went around and took pictures, and just to mainly show people that it was the conditions weren't favorable to be driving in,
right,
and to stay at home as you can. I thought at the same time, they can't get out and drive, so we're out and about. Let's take some pictures of local places in town and put them on our social media. And I can't tell you how many people called and said, I'm so glad you did that. We wanted to make sure we got pictures, but we didn't have to come out and take the pictures. You already got them. And we didn't get everything, but we tried to cover a lot of it.
And that was I enjoyed looking at it. I really did. And I have to say, this is probably my favorite picture. That is a beautiful picture.
That picture was actually taken by our officer, Josh Solis, and he was coming into work that morning. He worked the day shift, and he was driving from Sealy, and he actually slid out one time. He told me on the way from Sealy to Bellville on Highway 36, and he took that shot. I hadn't got out of the house. He goes, "Hey, just to let you know, we're iced up pretty good." And I said, "Well, I'll be out in a few minutes," but he sent that picture to me.
Yeah, but I thought that was neat. And I guess I like to show that because it shows, again, that you guys are community oriented.
You want to keep your people up to speed on what's going on. And that's one way to do it. And it was another way to get, people's businesses out there that they maybe couldn't see or were further out of town and didn't want to drive in.
Yeah.
But we put about everything on there. I try not to do too many mug shots unless it's imperative that I think that people know.
Right.
The other basic mug shots I'm not too concerned about. But ones that are impactful that the people I think would need to know about, I will put out there. Because if you see the jail roster that the Bellville Times puts out, there's a lot more people in there that we arrest for different smaller crimes. They aren't as significant as what we post. But anytime we have a person we're looking for or something that's serious, we're going to make sure the public knows who those people are and what the crimes were.
Okay, now I have to ask the silly question. Did you help look for the kangaroo?
I was in New York City when that happened. So no, I was not a part of the kangaroo procedure. I know that's another office that's in our building is the game warden, Texas game warden, Mike Novak, is in our building. And I know he was a huge part of that. And he was actually interviewed by Channel 11 News when that was going around. Did they ever find the kangaroo? I heard they didn't.
As far as I know, they didn't, but I want you to know that I used to live in Beaumont, 2.5 hours away. I had one of my friends call me and she said, "You have a kangaroo loose somewhere around there?" And I said, "Well, yes, we do." She said, "It was on the news tonight." So
wow. So it made it all the way down.
All the way to Beaumont.
Well, I'd say it's a really funny story too. And it wasn't funny it happened, but the outcome was kind of unique. Austin County Fair Association had a wooden bear. I think it still stands there, but it used to have the sign that said, "Welcome to Austin County" or something like that. And the bear was set on fire by someone one night, and the sign was stolen. And I think it was salvageable. It was just, it didn't catch completely on fire. But anyway, the sign was missing, so we don't know what happened to the sign. The Fair Association, this was years ago, gets a call from somewhere where the mouth of the Brazos empties into the coast, and it was caught up in a grate somewhere over there that somebody's found right before it went into the ocean. And so that sign was probably thrown in the Brazos River and made its way all the way down to Galveston or wherever the Brazos comes out, Matagorda, I can't remember. But I thought that's a long ways to travel.
That is.
To get there. And it was a couple years after the fact, but the sign was still. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it took a while to get down there. So it went through a couple floods probably and no telling what, but you just never know.
I know it. That's amazing. Well, I guess some of the last questions I was going to ask is, other than, tips and things like that, what are some things that the city, the people can do to help y'all? I mean, do you, obviously donations during, the Blue Santa and things like that?
Well, I don't ever ask for money from our citizens. They already
pay
taxes, but we always appreciate anything, the goodies and things they bring by, and we get that all the time. We're very appreciative of that. I will tell you that and the donor wants to remain anonymous, but this is a major thing. She was paying attention, the lady in Bellville was paying attention to what was going on with us trying to find the inmate that was escaped from Waller County out of the hospital, which, by the way, we weren't aware of that until the day he ran out the door. We didn't even know he was there, but we had kind of inherited that problem for our city,
right?
Even though it wasn't initially our problem. But she saw all the work we were doing and all the officers out and from all agencies, Waller County, Austin County, a mix of everybody was trying to find that guy, and she saw it, and she was impressed by that. And she reached out to our canine officer and said, hey, I would like to donate to, and we were using canines that too, by the way, that night. She said, I'd like to donate to the canine program that you have. And Officer Freud was trying to, yeah, well, sure, we'll accept donations, whatever. What do you have in mind? So, what do you need? Because, well, we have this and that. She goes, I'd like to donate a vehicle. And she did. She wrote a $70,000 check for a brand new canine vehicle.
Holy cow.
You just never know. And that I've never seen a donation quite that large, but that's who she is. And she did not want any recognition for it at all.
Right.
So you got some really good people out there that are there supporting you. Sometimes you just don't even know it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is that, I guess the whole thing is, go by, give you a high five, bake some cookies.
Yeah. That means just as much to us. Some people can't afford a $70,000.
No,
so if you want to bring some cookies by, we appreciate it. At our restaurants, they're always donating food to us or providing us with lunch. It happens all the time. And that tells you that you're making an impact in your community and that you've got a good relationship with the community. Because if that wasn't the case, you wouldn't see things like that.
Right.
And as long as I'm there, I'm going to keep promoting that we do everything that we can to keep our citizens happy and service them well, and mainly protect. There's that two words, protect and serve, and protect is the most important in my opinion.
Right. That's very true. And so next time I see you in a restaurant, I'll buy you dinner.
Oh, no, you don't have to do that. We certainly don't expect that. And our officers, I can't tell you how many times you go into a gas station, hey, coffee's on us, and
right.
They'll go, no, I don't want to pay for it. Nope, it's on us. We insist. So gratuity is out there. It's not something that we look for by any means.
Right.
People are just trying to be friendly, and they want to let you know that they support you, even in a small way, whatever way it is. It's always great.
I was going to say too, though, you say like you wouldn't ask for money because you pay taxes, and you do. But the thing is that I know, like, I feel like I would like to personally say to you, not through my taxes, but to say to you,
yeah,
I appreciate you going out and putting your life on the line for me, because I'm certainly not that brave.
Right. And I totally get it. And you think about our military, you think about what they have to go through. And I get it. I really do. But at the same time, we signed up for this. What you're getting. When you raise your hand, you swear to take an oath, you know what you're getting into. And so you know that's the dangers in front of you, and that's your job. And it's a calling. It's not, if you're getting in this just to have a job,
you're in the wrong business.
It's going to be a long day, right?
Yeah.
And it is a job, no doubt, but it's a calling. And like I said, when I was 6 years old and 5 years old, admiring my dad in that uniform and thought that was he was my hero, still is, that was a calling for me. And I never lost that calling. And I think as most officers, it's the same thing for them. There's something that inspired them to do that, more than likely at a younger age, versus just trying to figure out something to do after high school.
Right.
And you got to want to do it, because it's not always easy.
No. I can't imagine sometimes what hassle you guys get.
Well, PTSD is a relatively new thing. It's been around for a long time, but it hadn't been classified or defined until, I would say, when I say recent, maybe 10, 15 years.
Yeah, not long.
It hadn't. And it's officers, police officers, people in the military have always been, kind of the type of people that hold their emotions inside. And now you're trying to get those emotions out. So the more you talk about it with peers that have been through what you've been through, it helps.
Right.
And so, and I never even thought about PTSD, but I guess I have it. There's a couple things that I've been on that still haunt me. And one of them was a young, and this was early in my career, I got a call of a death inquest. And I had inquests where people die, at home, and when doctor's not present. So you have to have a justice of the peace come out and pronounce someone dead. And that's called an inquest investigation. So police are always called out typically. And this was a really rough one for me. I ended up going in, it was a garage apartment. It was a mother, and she had two kids, and she was a single mother. So she was raising the kids by herself. And I think she had a 4 or 5 year old, and she had an 18-month-old. Well, the 18-month-old died in her crib. So crib,
yeah.
And a beautiful little 18-month-old girl, long blonde hair, locks, the whole thing. And I get there, and she's rocking the baby in the chair. And it was time that we had to take the baby away, and she was screaming, "Please don't take my baby. Please don't take my baby." And I'll never, ever forget that. It's like, even though it was, it wasn't a tragic event, it was a bad event, But I'll never forget that. I have nightmares about it, thinking about it. I'll never forget her face, never forget that little girl's face. So you have things like that you have in your career. Every officer has them. Everyone that's been around long enough will have those events. And it's always good to talk about them. And it's good to make sure that you get that. You can't bundle all that inside. And there's been some other events, some major accidents I've been on that you see bad things and see people where it's just as bad as it gets. And you just gotta work your way through it. But it always helps to talk about it. So, that's just part of the job.
Yeah. Okay. On to a little bit lighter subject. My brother-in-law is a firefighter. My other brother-in-law is a policeman, and they have this rivalry. And you said something about the axes and what?
Guns and hoses.
Yeah. Guns and hoses. Okay. So do we have rivalry here in
We have a fun rivalry here. We love our fire departments. I think all your law enforcement agencies say that they couldn't survive without the fire department. The fire department would say the same thing about us. But when we do have our little betting tournaments and things like that we do, you'll see those. I think they call them memes or
the memes. Yeah.
The memes, yeah. Memes, and that we're going to find some firefighters sleeping, and they're going to find some cops eating donuts, and they're going to post some things. So it's a fun rivalry, there's no doubt. But
I was going to say, because I saw there was one, and I don't even remember, and it was the cop was arresting the fireman for parking incorrectly or something.
Yeah.
And it was because he was stopping to help somebody, and it was a joke.
Yeah, sure.
But it was so funny because I thought, yeah, that would be those two.
There's a lot of that back and forth, and we still do that today between each other. But all in all, we're all brothers and sisters in first responding, and that goes with EMS as well. But we do trade shots back and forth, and it's all fun and games. Yeah, we love each other. There's no doubt.
There's your tournament.
Yeah, so that was the last one, and every year that is getting a little bit bigger. There's also other teams that play in that as well. Businesses are also welcome to participate. So I can't remember how many different teams we had last year, but it's a full day at the. That was a Clark. I can't remember if we had that at the Bellville Little League or Clark Park. I think it was Bellville Little League. Yeah. Bellville Little League Park. I see it. I have my glasses on, but the proceeds that we get there, Little League gets a little bit of that, and then the rest of it's used for other things too as well.
I was saying, then there again, you're helping out the community.
Oh yeah, you always try to give back, and it's an honor to serve the people that you grew up with, that known you since you're little.
Yeah. All right. So I'm kind of at the end of my questions. Did I miss anything? Is there anything you want to leave us with?
Oh, I think y'all have a great program going here, and I hope it continues to grow. You've been interviewing a lot of good people.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming, because
thank you. Our
idea is that we want all of Austin County to know everybody, so that when they see you, they can say, hey, and the kids, say, hey, yeah, I know who he is. And
well, I'm an open door. I've always believed in that. I've built my reputation on honest, trustworthiness, and transparency. And anybody that ever wants to come talk to me or call, a lot of people have my phone number, and they'll call me throughout the weekend and say, but I don't mind. That's what I signed up for. But it's helping people. I don't mind doing that. So anytime anybody needs anything, we're here for you. Bellville Police Department's here for you, no matter what.
Wonderful. All right. Well, we greatly appreciate you being with us today. Austin County, that's about it. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We can't do it without you. And we'll see you next time. Keep smiling.